Does anyone know what the hell's going on in Grand Canyon National Park? In November of 1928, newlyweds Glenn and Bessie Hyde departed on the most epic and also tragic honeymoon imaginable. So Glenn convinced Bessie that the couple should spend their honeymoon traveling down the Green and Colorado rivers in this homemade 20-foot wooden boat that Glenn had made. And this idea, this plan, came with two important goals. Goal number one was to beat the speed record for this particular route, and goal number two was to make Bessie the very first woman in history to successfully navigate the treacherous waters through the Grand Canyon. On October 20th, the Hydes' journey began when they left the town of Green River, Utah. They pushed off into the river and they began floating away from civilization. The first few weeks of the couple's adventure actually went surprisingly well. I mean, sure, they had each been thrown out of the boat over the course of a few different incidences on the rapids. Oh, and another riverman had compared their homemade boat to a coffin. Oh yeah, and they made the decision to not take any life jackets with them. But, you know, despite all of that stuff, I do have to give them some credit, because by November 8th, they had traveled a pretty considerable distance and were basically knocking on the front door of the Grand Canyon. But before they entered the Grand Canyon, Glenn and Bessie made a very brief stop into the outpost of Lee's Ferry. A small group of locals in Lee's Ferry pleaded with Glenn and Bessie to abandon their journey. They told the Hydes that their small boat would not be sufficient to carry them through the rapids that they were going to be facing. They told them that not taking life vests was basically a dance with death itself. They told them all these things. They warned them, dude, and Glenn and Bessie didn't listen. As the Hydes were leaving Grand Canyon Village, they agreed to allow a man who was named Adolph Suttrue to join them for a short stint on the river. About 2 days after they left Grand Canyon Village, the group pulled into an outpost known as Hermit Camp. And when they did this, they all ate lunch with a few of the locals there. And then Adolph took this photo of Glenn and Bessie. This is the last photo ever taken of Glenn and Bessie Hyde. The date was November 18th, 1928. Multiple weeks went by before anybody realized that the Hydes were missing. But by the first week of December, it was very clear that something had gone wrong, and that's when a formal search was launched. On December 19th, a search plane that was flying high over the Grand Canyon noticed an empty boat that was snagged on some rocks, completely standstill right there in the middle of the Colorado River. And folks, to this day, no confirmed trace of either Glenn or Bessie has ever been found.